From Recorded Future News and PRX, this is Click Here. Ruth has lived in Los Angeles for 10 years, and for 8 of those, she's been unhoused. She spends her days navigating the city's maze of systems, trying, in the way she can, to improve them.
In my quest to get housing, I've discovered a lot of things about systems, and I've been documenting them and trying to share them with people.
She writes about it all on a Substack. And lately, as she's been documenting her neighborhood, she's noticed something new.
Dark-colored pickup trucks with no license plates and masked agents, with vests, weapons.
ICE patrols, immigration and customs enforcement, rounding people up.
In my particular neighborhood, they're very present. The car wash in my neighborhood had a raid. There were people hiding in a closet in the business. They thought it was an active shooter. It's really torn our neighborhood apart. It's really scary.
She says it's a familiar kind of scary, at least to her.
Because we have raids that happen all the time with encampments and rangers and regular police. And it's a very similar kind of terror, I think.
So she started to wonder, was there anything she could do to help? Since she was out there watching and documenting anyway, maybe she could find a way to alert people if ICE was around. Then, one night online, she found something she thought might help. An app called IceBlock.
It's just pins on a map. If you've sighted ICE agents or a raid, you just drop a pin. You can put details in a little field.
And everyone using the app within a 5-mile radius of you gets an alert. So Ruth downloaded it and waited. And just a few days before we talked, something happened. It was the middle of the night, and a bunch of unmarked vehicles pulled into the parking lot where she sleeps.
Several cars and men with masks. They were strapping on and Velcroing their, bulletproof vests. They were putting magazines in their guns. And then they pulled out of the parking lot altogether.
And did you immediately open up the IceBlock app and drop a pin?
I did. I wanted people to know that they were in this neighborhood again.
I'm Dina Temple-Raston, and this is Click Here. We tell true stories about the people making and breaking our digital world. Under the Trump administration, ICE arrests have doubled this year. Raids have become more aggressive, more visible, more militarized. So activists have turned to technology to warn, to organize, and to resist. And the app Ruth stumbled on, IceBlock, has found itself at the center of that digital crossfire.
I was simply trying to do something to fight back and help. I don't want to just sit around and say, oh, this is horrible what's happening in this country, but there's nothing I can do about it. So I did something about it. And, damn the torpedoes if something happens to me because of it.
Well, something did happen. Something that has everyone from Ruth in Los Angeles to legal experts in Washington asking what happens when speech and dissent move from the streets to the cloud. Stay with us. Support for Click Here comes from Clean My Mac. If you're like me, your cloud drives are packed with files you don't actually need. Sync duplicates, old backups, random junk just gobbling up storage. Clean My Mac takes care of that with a new cloud cleanup feature. It connects to your accounts on iCloud, OneDrive, and Google Drive and scans to find large space wasters, both in cloud storage and on your device. And while my Mac health is apparently excellent, Clean My Mac found 8 gigabytes of junk on my computer and tons of duplicate downloads, and it removed a bunch of leftover applications I never use. Who knew? And this happens locally on my Mac, so my data stays safe. Clean My Mac has a whole suite of other features, too, including their Moonlight anti-malware engine, With just a click, the anti-malware tool scans and removes viruses, ensuring your Mac remains threat-free. Not everything deserves eternal storage, so why pay for it? Get tidy today with Clean My Mac. Try it free for 7 days and use the promo code CLICK to save an additional 20% on your purchase at cleanmymac.com.
Support comes from Dakota State University. What happens when you unite dynamic minds with one revolutionary vision? A rising force on the cutting edge of everything. From a little university on the prairie to a cyber powerhouse of the plains, we're proving the nation's best cyber can come from where you least expect it. Now, we're molding the future of cyber, AI, and quantum computing one graduate at a time. See what Dakota State University is building next at dsucyber27.com.
From Recorded Future News, this is Click Here. Joshua Aaron has been building apps since he was a kid, though his first one wasn't exactly an app.
It was actually a program on an Apple IIgs, and that is a very, very old computer that I went to computer camp when I was 13 years old, and I created a blackjack app.
About a decade later, he was working at Apple, though only briefly.
I was not huge on the Apple corporate culture, so that really didn't fit with what I wanted to do.
So he joined a rock band. Then came startups, a few small wins, a few pivots, and finally a quiet life in Austin, building everyday tech tools, things like a PDF converter or a health app. Until 2024, when Donald Trump won a second term, and Joshua began watching the new immigration raids on TV with growing alarm. And while the administration says ICE is just going after the worst of the worst criminals, according to an analysis by the Marshall Project and others, the vast majority of people they're rounding up are asylum seekers, legal residents, and people with no prior convictions at all.
Gaping holes left in this Denver apartment door after it was broken by ICE agents. Behind it was 9-year-old Nicole.
Estábamos en el cuarto.
She said we were getting ready in the room to go to school, and then ICE knocked down the door.
A violent confrontation where ICE agents physically separated a family.
Oh my God.
Monica Elizabeth Moretta thrown to the ground by an ICE agent.
ICE agents arrested a Tufts University graduate student with a valid student visa. Lawyers for that student, they say they do not know where she is right now and have not been able to contact her.
Where is the due process? Where is, any way to prove your innocence?
So he started to wonder, could he use code to find a solution?
My brain started going, and I thought about all of these different ideas that I could possibly do to help people.
And then one day he came up with an idea to alert people when a raid appears imminent. He called it IceBlock, and that's the app Ruth used in LA.
So IceBlock is an early warning system. And basically what it does is it detects where you are using your location. And within a 5-mile radius of where you are, it will notify you of ICE sightings.
As he thought about the best way to get the broadest reach, he decided to crowdsource the alerts.
Users see something and tap something. And that's kind of the slogan for the app is see something, tap something.
So what was the biggest challenge in building an app like this?
Privacy, security. That was absolutely the biggest hurdle. So the last thing I wanted is to get a subpoena that says, I want the entire database for IceBlock, and then for whatever reason, there was identifiable information for users in that where they...
So he made a choice. He would not require users to sign up in any way. He'd collect nothing. No names, no email addresses. Of course, there isn't anything online that's completely anonymous. You still have to download it through an app store. But on his end, Joshua wanted to hold zero data on his users. He toiled away for months, trying to make this idea into a reality. And then finally, in April 2025, he launched. He put IceBlock out into the world. Very quickly, thousands of users signed up, and he could see how it worked in real life.
We think it's helpful. We've had somebody say to us that they saw something on one of these apps while simultaneously we were getting a call from somebody.
That's Francisco Chavo Romero. He works with an advocacy group in Los Angeles called Union del Barrio. They run their own alert system, a kind of old-school hotline where people call in to report they've seen ice, and then his group confirms it on the ground.
What we call ground truthing, spot checking the situation, because we don't like to put out an alert until we confirm that it's actually something happening.
People with his group downloaded IceBlock.
So it actually confirmed the situation.
Second confirmation, yeah.
It's like a second confirmation, right?
And while he liked the idea behind IceBlock, he did worry a little about the crowdsourcing part of it. Since their sightings aren't verified, IceBlock could spread panic as easily as it spreads information. Joshua understood that too. Crowdsourcing offers greater reach, but at an expense.
Like, we can't do moderation. We can't block users. There are trade-offs.
You can't protect against false reports, for example.
We cannot.
So he built in safeguards. He limited the number of sightings someone could post. Users could only report within their own 5-mile radius. And every 4 hours, all the sightings would clear. Still, trolls found it and targeted it.
People posting, every morning I do 100 false sightings in IceBlock. Do you now? Really? Because it would take 500 minutes to do that.
But trolls weren't the real problem. The real problem came from a different place, the White House.
My wife's sister called us and said, "Oh my God, they're talking about Joshua's app at the White House press briefing." And we went, "I'm sorry, what?"
During a daily press briefing, a reporter asked the White House press secretary about IceBlock.
I just watched a CNN segment on a new app called IceBlock, and it kind of appeared to be promoting this app where you can tell people where ICE agents are. Given the recent rise...
An app that tells people where ICE agents are?
Yes.
Suddenly, this tiny app he built in Austin was part of the national debate. Within hours, the acting director of ICE had issued a statement about IceBlock. A short time after that, Attorney General Pam Bondi was on cable news, not just talking about the app, but about Joshua himself.
And we are looking at him, and he better watch out, because that's not a protected speech. That is threatening the lives of our law enforcement officers throughout this country. And shame on CNN. I just saw that for the...
And was that sort of surreal?
To put it mildly, yes.
But sometimes condemnation has a way of amplifying the thing it condemns. And the more officials warned about IceBlock, the more people downloaded it. A few thousand users became 20,000, then 200,000, then 1 million. IceBlock was suddenly one of the most downloaded apps on Apple's App Store. For Joshua, it felt like vindication. The idea he'd built in his living room was suddenly part of a national conversation. News outlets were talking about it, lawmakers were referencing it, even the president's team seemed to know his name. It looked like everything he'd been working toward was finally happening. But just as that dream was taking shape, it started to unravel. Because for all the noise around him, no one from the administration had actually reached out to talk to him about it.
I have not even received an email, a phone call, a visit, nothing. I have never received any communication, nor has my legal team. So what did they do? They couldn't hurt me, so they hurt my wife. If they can't get one person, they're going to go after their family. It's mob tactics.
And that's when the tone shifted from digital debate to something darker. When we come back, the moment Joshua's fight for accountability becomes a fight for survival. Stay with us. Support for Click Here comes from Claude AI. Claude is the AI for minds that don't stop at good enough. It's the collaborator that actually understands your entire workflow and thinks with you, not for you. Whether you're debugging code at midnight or strategizing your next business move, Claude extends your thinking to tackle the problems that matter. Why settle for a basic search when you can have a real conversation with Claude? Claude doesn't just fetch results. It helps you think, and brainstorm and summarize and draft and even explain. Whether you're untangling a tricky article, preparing interview questions, or polishing up a memo, Claude can help. Ready to tackle bigger problems? Sign up for Claude today and get 50% off Claude Pro when you use this link. Claude.ai/click here. That's Claude.ai/click here. Right now for 50% off your first 3 months of Claude Pro. And that includes access to all of the features mentioned in today's episode. Claude.ai/click here.
Every day, it's getting harder to tell what's real and what's not.
Alex reassured me that he was a fully licensed and certified psychologist. But in fact, Alex is not a person, but it is an unfeeling chatbot.
I'm Dexter Thomas, and every week on my podcast, Kill Switch, we look at the right now of living in the future to help you take back control of your life. Listen to Kill Switch in the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
ChatGPT, AI machine, satellite, engine ignition,
click here,
and liftoff.
Joshua's wife, Carolyn, worked at the Justice Department, a forensic accountant in the U.S. Office of the Trustee. That's a DOJ financial watchdog.
Her job was to protect against fraud in the bankruptcy system. And she's really, really brilliant, scary brilliant. And she, saved millions and millions and millions of dollars over the course of her tenure there.
With the administration's focus on eliminating waste, fraud, and abuse, her job seemed safe. But a few weeks after the White House started talking about IceBlock, Carolyn was abruptly fired.
They took an almost decade veteran of the Office of the U.S. Trustee, highly respected by all of her colleagues and anybody who knew her, and they took her out simply because she's married to me.
A Justice Department spokesperson confirmed her firing was due to her connection to IceBlock because she had a financial stake in her husband's company. It's unclear what law, if any, that actually violates. Carolyn, for her part, declined to speak with us. But it turned out the administration was just warming up.
Breaking news, Dallas law enforcement is responding to a shooting at an ICE facility.
It appears that several people have been shot, some fatally, according to Homeland Security.
In late September, a sniper opened fire at an ICE detention center before taking his own life. 2 detainees were killed. And when investigators examined the shooter's phone,
the FBI says the gunman downloaded a list of DHS facilities and searched apps that tracked ICE agents.
Almost immediately, top ICE officials like Marcos Charles began pointing fingers at apps like IceBlock.
It's no different than giving a hitman the location of their intended target, and this is exactly what we saw happen in Dallas yesterday. We truly wish we didn't have to say, "I told you so," but here we are.
To Joshua, it felt surreal, but also illogical. After all, the shooter didn't need IceBlock or any other app to know that ICE officers would be at an ICE facility where the shooting happened.
I know police officers are at the police station. I know firefighters are at the fire station. I know ICE agents are at an ICE detention facility. I know grocery store clerks are at our supermarket. I don't need an app to tell me any of this.
It was a logic gap wide enough to drive a news cycle through. Because, well, IceBlock did let users share information about raids. He'd built it specifically to prevent people from doing things like doxing ICE agents.
It absolutely does none of that. It's not even possible. There's no way to upload a photo, no way to upload a video. And the notes field is limited to 180 characters. So when they say it's putting people in danger, what they mean is don't track what we're doing because we want to keep doing this in secrecy and we're going to threaten anybody who violates that.
Shortly after the Dallas ICE facility shooting, Attorney General Pam Bondi was testifying at a Senate hearing, and she called out the app by name.
The IceBlock app, that was reckless and criminal in that people...
And it turned out that the Senate wasn't the only place Pam Bondi was making that case. Joshua was home one afternoon in early October when he got an email from Apple.
I got a message from Apple claiming they received information from law enforcement alleging IceBlock was targeting law enforcement officers. And after reevaluating the app, Apple reversed course on their initial approval, citing objectionable content.
Wow. Joshua's lawyers had spent weeks vetting the app with Apple before it went live. Apple's lawyers had approved it. But after pressure from the administration, Apple did an about-face. IceBlock would no longer be available in the App Store. While IceBlock was only available on iPhones, Google followed suit, pulling any app like his from their store too.
Google came out that same night and issued a statement that says, we weren't contacted by anybody, but we too are going to remove all law enforcement tracking apps.
Wow. We reached out to Apple and Google for comment. Apple didn't get back to us, but the company told other news outlets what they told Joshua. Based on the information they got from law enforcement about safety risks associated with the app, they removed IceBlock and other apps like it from the App Store. Google said authorities never contacted them about it. And Joshua, for his part, he says this is unconstitutional, a crackdown on speech protected by the First Amendment. Because IceBlock didn't tell people what to do. It just shared information. And that idea, sharing what's out there, letting people make their own choices, isn't exactly new. Think of Waze, the app that lets drivers flag construction, traffic jams, and even police.
It's the same thing as a speed trap notification. If you know that this cop is up ahead, what are you going to do? You're not going to go by at 100 miles an hour. You're going to slow down and you're going to avoid the confrontation with that officer and avoid getting a ticket.
To Joshua, his app is no different. It's protected speech. And the government leaning on tech companies to take it down, that, he says, is the real danger.
We have the right to know what's going on. The media has access, right? That's the freedom of the press, and that is the First Amendment. And big tech that controls what we can have on our devices that we pay for, that we own, is now saying what you can and cannot be notified about. They are making those decisions, and that should scare everybody.
For now, IceBlock still works, but only for people who downloaded it before October. His website warns people not to delete the app or reset their phones, or they'll lose access altogether. And Joshua says he's not giving up.
I am going to fight it with everything I have. I have an incredible legal team behind me, and we'll be doing everything in our power to fight this.
Meanwhile, activists are turning back to more traditional tactics, something Francisco Chavo Romero actually predicted might happen. He's the organizer with Union del Barrio in LA, who we heard from earlier. He said his group stuck with the telephone hotline and in-person verification, in part because of something like this. We spoke with him about a week before IceBlock was pulled down.
Because one day, what's going to happen? They may pull the rug from all those platforms. And if you only rely on that technology and those platforms, then you're going to be dead in the water.
He says it's easy to pull an app offline and much harder to pull an entire people.
We definitely have our phone trees. We have a hotline, and we have volunteer operators that are picking up the lines.
And those volunteers, he says, are only growing in number. Even though both Joshua and Francisco know they're up against an organization with tens of billions in funding, military-grade gear, and the reins of the judicial system, Josh is preparing to fight in the courts. And Francisco's network, they just keep picking up the phone and heading out into the streets. Not in spite of what they're up against, he says, but because of it. The first crackdown on the IceBlock app only made it more popular. And Francisco says that, in combination with the heavy-handed approach on the ground, may end up doing something the administration didn't intend, galvanizing the only thing they can't erase: community response.
We believe that the goal of coming in heavily militarized was to instill fear to a level where people were afraid to come out, right? But the reverse occurred. Community has lost fear of standing up and protesting.
And if the past few months have shown anything, it's that people find a way. They always do. This is Click Here.
If you're looking for a daily guide to cybersecurity news and policy, sign up for the Cyber Daily. from Recorded Future News. It serves up the day's most interesting and important cyber stories from our sister publication, The Record, and then aggregates all of the big cyber stories you might have missed from news outlets around the world. Just go to therecord.media and click on Cyber Daily to get all you need to know about the world of cybersecurity right in your inbox.
Here are some of the top tech stories making news this week. It's Tuesday, October 21st. The streaming platform Roku may be doing more than just helping you binge Bluey.
The state of Florida just filed a lawsuit against Roku for tracking your children.
Florida's Attorney General is accusing Roku of illegally collecting and selling children's data. Things like their viewing habits, location, even voice recordings, all without parental consent. The state says Roku violated Florida's new Digital Bill of Rights by sharing information with advertisers and data brokers. And the fines? They can reach $50,000 per violation, triple that when the consumer is a child. Parents, it seems, are reminding the streaming giants who's really in charge.
$15 billion in Bitcoin from pig butchering scams. You heard that right, pig butchering scams.
The Justice Department just made the largest cryptocurrency seizure in U.S. history, $15 billion, with a B, in Bitcoin. The target of the bust, Chen Ji, a Cambodian businessman accused of running an empire of romance scams. Sweet talk first, heartbreak later. Prosecutors say Chen's network operated forced labor compounds across Cambodia, where trafficked workers were made to carry out the scams. One site alone had more than 1,200 mobile phones and some 76,000 social media accounts. The Justice Department has now designated Chen's company, Prince Holding Group, as a transnational criminal organization. If convicted, Chen faces 40 years in prison, but he remains at large.
And now to this developing news and $1 billion scam targeting drivers across Southern California.
If you've gotten a weird text lately about a toll you didn't pay or a random post office fee, you're not alone. Scam texts are everywhere right now. Federal investigators say they're part of a $1 billion scheme run by organized crime groups in China. These scammers are using SIM farms to blast out these texts by the thousands, and they're even paying gig workers to help. Here's how it works. You get a text about an overdue bill, and the link leads to a phishing site that steals your credit card information. That card gets loaded into a digital wallet in China, linked to another wallet here in the U.S. And then someone in America uses Tap to Pay to buy phones, gift cards, and luxury goods. And all that gets shipped back to China and sold. Homeland Security told the Wall Street Journal these scam texts have cost Americans about $1 billion over the past 3 years. And finally, last week, Instagram content got a little less rated R.
All teenagers on Instagram will be seeing posts, reels, and stories that are a little more PG-13.
Instagram's parent company, Meta, is taking cues from Hollywood movie ratings to limit what teens see online. Users under 18 will automatically get stricter content filters. No more posts promoting drugs, sex, or dangerous stunts unless parents choose to opt out. The rules will even apply to Meta's chatbots, which have been flagged for inappropriate conversations with minors. But not everyone's buying the new safeguards. Some parents and researchers say Meta's track record on content moderation speaks for itself, and they're calling the update little more than a public relations stunt.
Click Here is a production of Recorded Future News and PRX. Our team includes Dina Temple-Raston, Megan Dietrich, Sean Powers, Erica Gaida, and me, Zach Hirsch. I was the lead producer on this episode. The story was edited by Karen Duffin and fact-checked by Darren Ankrum. It contains original music by Ben Livingston, with additional music from Blue Dot Sessions. Our staff writer is Lucas Riley, and our illustrator is Megan Goff. Jesse Neiswanger and Jake Cook are our sound designers and engineers. Join us Friday for Click Here's Mic Drop, when we drop in on a movement that's both high-tech and lo-fi, where Neighborhood Watch meets digital resistance.
Everybody was like, why is the Border Patrol way up here in Bakersfield?
That's Friday. We'll see you then.
Looking for more of the cybersecurity and intelligence coverage you get on Click Here? Then check out our sister publication, The Record, from Recorded Future News. You'll get breaking cyber news from reporters in New York, Washington, London, and Kyiv, among others. And you'll see for yourself why it attracts hundreds of thousands of page views every month. Just go to therecord.media.